Okay, so I want to do some TA on Clover Health, and I know there's a lot going on here, but I'm used to it. So to me, it's just like looking at the back of my hand. I created most of these indicators, not all of them, but most of them. And then I also have my drawings, right, with this long-term cycle, right. And then I have this other little cycle right here that it's kind of it's good enough to kind of project what it's going to look like, but not nowhere near close, right? Because things could change rapidly, and then you have to go back and look at it again. Just like drawing trend lines. I don't do trend lines. I don't do what they call technical analysis. I don't do that. I don't. I use gauges. My indicators are gauges, and they gauge the ups and the ups and downs, basically, right? So, and potential weakness and strength, right? So, like you can see here, there was a lot of weakness coming in. They were shooting up some green arrows and shit, but you can't take that literally because it was on an extreme downtrend. So it's like NA'd. The only time these come relevant is when we're on an uptrend and having a pullback, right? Now, if it was vice versa and these were selling signals, then yeah, that would make sense, right? I probably need to do the math and change that around in order to have it to be biased to the direction. But I haven't done that yet. I'm more interested into extremes, so that's the reason why it's like that. Um, I know it looks like a lot, but when you zoom in, it's not. But I just want to, show how psychoanalysis works, right? And you got the drawings in the background. You have this cycle right here, which is a short term wave that I like to keep as a backup. The red one is actually the one worth paying attention to, but this one is kind of like a backup one. If they don't, for some reason, it doesn't make sense, then this is the one that I'm going to turn on. Take another look at it. Now you can see the regimes here, 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 and now there, or wherever. It could be here or here, but it can't really be confirmed until we have a really bad turnover. See, the regime indicator is still pointing up, but the short-term regime is pointing down, as well as selling pressure or not buying pressure. You know, some people get that confused. Um, but eventually it fades because nothing goes up in a straight line. So you have to have cycles. It's the only way. Like unless it goes up in a straight line, then it doesn't matter. Cycles would be irrelevant. But since it doesn't go in up a straight line, the cycles are important. Um, Even if it only makes a little bit of a approach up, but it still has to do that. Now the dominant cycle is going to be the one saying that if it's a good time to buy or sell, right? So, like, as this dominant cycle was going down, and then you see like extreme selling here, and then you see buying there, right? You wouldn't want to buy here. The reason why is because like the dominant cycle's down. Like you can see it here, you can see it here, and you can see all of this selling pressure there, and you can see how this wave turned down. You can see how this wave is down, even though it's kind of like in a phase of up on the the longer term. It kind of looks like it's on a phase up, for both ends, but it just never realized that So this shit right here was NA'd because this was dominant, because this is actually what's going on. These are just drawings. This is drawings. This is like drawing lines. And I used to draw lines with technical analysis. I don't do that shit no more. I don't use technical analysis with anything that I produce. I use technical analysis on anything the gauges produce. So, these are gauges. These is, I mean, you call them indicators if you want to, right? But it's technically a gauge, not an indicator, because it's not indicating really anything other than the fact if it's positive or negative. Just like a speedometer gauge would indicate the fact that you're going fast or slow. So, you know, but it's a gauge nevertheless. And we're coming to the point here where it looks like the relief rally from all this selling pressure has finally came to a conclusion here on this upwards movement. Now you could say, well, I mean, the call options, they were having a big part about, big part of that scenario because it was like $2.50, right? So you got to do your homework on this type of shit. You got to use as much tools that are available, and you got to be integrated into all of them, right? Not just fundamentals and technicals. You got to do dark pool. You got to do options. You got to do fucking like the order book and so on. You got to combine them all together. You got to be integrated, fully integrated, right? Some people like to be specialists. They only work around one thing, but I'm not. I'm more like a dog, As a dog that goes, "Rrr, rrr," So I look for opportunities. I'll growl when I'm mad, and they say the dog is a man's best friend, right? Um, other than was it a fat lazy cat? Is that a man's best friend? I don't know about that. Garfield. We will name him not fat lazy cat. We will name him Garfield. But anyways, I'm still improving. I'm getting better at this kind of shit. I've created already like 50 indicators of my own. All right, so go to indicator. Here, go to my scripts. Right, there's a lot of them. So yeah, but they're not exactly everything I'm looking for. I keep on adjusting and evolving as I go. Relevance is key, and you know location is definitely paramount. So location is paramount, and we have to be looking at this type of shit. If a person only does one type of analysis, it says I'm the king. I do this one type of analysis and I'm the best at it. And you're not the king. You know, the king of the jungle, fucking what is it, Lion King. You're not the king. Because you only focus on one thing. Um, but yeah, it's like better to be in a scenario where you adapt and evolve and stay integrated, rather than biased to one direction or one idea, or whatever. So I did want to run an experiment on this thing here, but I need to find the stocks that are relevant to the experiment. Um, Let me see here. Maybe I could find the right one. Let's see. Is that 2 weeks? My son set up AI trading on my phone. Said just watch it for a month. I almost.
Great. 60. And they realize it's actually doing pretty good. So it's actually pretty interesting because we're about what? about less than 20 days, and the stock's actually going up.
Okay,
Investors see
so
this stock moving, so then they're like, "Oh my god!" Kind of immediate term policy changes that might come out of that.
okay.
There were moments in 2022 and then 2023 where there were more sell ratings and hold money. All for money. They want you to work 9 to 5, work your ass off, and buy when they upgrade and sell when they downgrade.
You see, I agree with them. I agree with this guy right here. Like most of the time, it's just like when you get to know somebody, it becomes different. I don't know. It's kind of weird, but there are some stocks that he was looking at, and I just wanted to review them with some TA, and I just got to find them.
And they do the exact opposite. These people are nasty. These people are, and all of you that are okay with it, that watch me, and that are on my LinkedIn that work for these big banks, screw all of you. Okay?
Let's see here.
Thing. Let's do. And I'm sure they're probably buying as it goes down. And honestly, like it's a shame because a lot of voters don't know this now. Speak to you told you I'm not a financial advisor. I entity, but this really pisses me off when you have literally I see patients at the hospital that is rigged. Okay. Right? I always play inverse analyst recommendations. Forget to buy stock. Undergrad, they teach me I'm a capitalist, right? You really got to have working, right? Okay, there's no.
I thought he had some stocks lined up on this.
And the y-axis is the percent return. So it's interesting with Clover. Okay.
No, that's not the one. I'm gonna have to dig through it because there was some stocks, but just for the hell of it, just for the fun of it or whatever, right? We could just like look at something, I guess. We look at industries. How about that rather than stocks? Like the healthcare industry and so on. So let's see here. Now I have two different templates that I use. They both have the unique features. Some of them have replaying features, but it's still good. Oh, by the way, in one of my videos, and I don't have too many. I haven't been making any. I did say that within this time frame right here, we should see a bottom. And if we look very closely here, okay, you see these little triangles? That was a confirmation on the bottom. Even though it technically didn't happen until the next day, but it was still a confirmation. Like this is a confirmation of a see here, let me go back right there of a bottom. But this is the short term wave, right? So you can see it over here, little gauge. So, anyways, so expect something happening here within this time frame. You can split it down the middle. Well, that was larger. I would probably be more biased to this side. And then once again, so it'd be like whoo, 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 right? Something like that. Um, because like I said, nothing goes up or down in a straight line. So it's going up. It's going to have to go down at some point. But yeah, I wanted to do. I think it was this one here. Yes, my layouts. So let's go to the healthcare industry, right? The XLV, right, which is the healthcare. And if we look at it, healthcare looks like it's bottoming, right? It really does. If I was to zoom in on it, you had here, you had cycles, both the weekly, the 2 week, pretty much peaking out. Like this zone right here, and then you can see the regime go down and down and down. Now it's starting to slope up. Doesn't mean that we're gonna go up to the moon, What it means is that this zone right here is a potential bottoming zone. And how they say triple bottoms are the best, but double bottoms happen more frequently, right? And you can see here this and that. See here. This one and this one. That in itself is a double bottom so far. You know, if it rolls over more and does something like this, then you know we're going to have to continue that triple bottom. But as of right now, the signs that it's showing is not going to happen. There is some weakness in it, but I mean, it's already been weak like throughout this whole area right here. So we could tie that into this and call it it's been weak in this whole area right here, right? It just takes time to realize that. And you call this like a whale bottom area. At least that's the way I'm looking at it. Once this 2 week starts rolling over, that'll pretty much signify, you know, it's on point. So we could like go back in time a little bit and see the same thing play out, how it did over here. Let's see here. Okay, so this zone right here was this zone right here, right? And this zone right here was this zone right here, right? And eventually it has this, which leads to that. And eventually it has this, which leads to that. And then you can see the regime swapped here and ended here and ended here, swapped here, then ended here, swapped here. But there was a divergence from here to there. You can see it in the graph. And this other one probably will do it better. This, this. Let's see here. Yeah, it does it better, but not that good because it had an extension going on here. But you could see how right here this went down, right? Kind of like how, let's see, let's get the time frames right. Yeah, that's the zone right here. So, and then this one also is kind of like a regime engine also. So it went down, right? So regime was down. We pretty much ended right there when the 2 week dropped after being overbought. Right, and you got the 2 week overbought, you got the 1 week overbought, you got the 3 day overbought, and right here you got the 1 day. Okay, so it's 2 week, 3 week. I mean 2 week, 1 week, 3 day, and then 1 day. All overbought at this zone right here, which is this zone right here. So go back over here. You can see how the oscillator was getting lower and lower. There's a bullish divergence here, right, which is leading to this, which is causing that pop. See that fair value gap there? That's strong. That means institutions were buying. You can see it here, here. That's a strong indication. Um, you know, like there's a flip here, there's a flip there, but there's a divergence going on here. There's a lot of selling there, a little bit here, which means selling is getting weak. There's the reason why there was a buy signal there. Go back over here on this one, right? We had a lot of selling going on here, which is equal to this. There was a divergence there, which it popped from that. from the overselling. You see the divergence here. There was a bullish divergence here and here, but there was a bear one equal to it. No, these little ones right here, they're okay, but it's really can't take them literally. You want to look for the bigger ones. These are small ones. It's just like caution type of scenario. Um, so yeah, this whole zone right here, which we go up to that and get to where the meat of it is at. Where's the meat at? Meat is when it really kicks off here, and the meat dies there. So no, um, it's more like this zone right here. So the meat of it was from about right here to over here in this zone right there. That was the meat of the move. And you can see it how it was green in the background right there, and you can see it how it stayed up. These indicators pointing down, which means positive, and these indicators point up, which means negative. And you can also see it here. And you had a down wave there, and those you got to take it. Those are important. With the background, it just keeps on stacking and stacking and stacking and stacking until you come to a conclusion, right? And then you do a future cast scenario with psychoanalysis. You got some troughs definitely coming in right here. And that zone points to June the 10th. Sometime within June the 10th, we should see a bottom coming in on the healthcare um, area, the healthcare ETF. Now, however it plays out, you know, um, however it plays out, it could be, oops, leave that. It could be something like this, you know, because technically this zone right here is the bottom, which would lead to that being the bottom right there. And at some point in this zone right here is going to be the bottom. So regardless if it busts through that or not, it's still going to have to cycle down in order to go up. What else do I got? So as of right now, if we zoom in, we can see the regime indicator right here hasn't crossed over yet. Yet it's been negative multiple times and barely anything positive. So reading it as is, I would think that we're going to see a rollover coming soon. And then just like, what did I say, May or June or something, we're going to see a pop. Like just like in the healthcare industry, right here, by June, which is right there, something like that, right? So that's like June the 15th, June the 15th here. So it'll be more like that instead. But if these negatives start rolling over, because you can see how this one is shorter than this one, but this one is longer than that one, right? So, and this one's shorter. So, as long as they're rolling over, this is the probability for that to happen right here is pretty good. Pretty good. This is probability based, right? Um, Damn it. Hmm, Still got to delete that. Okay. So If we go back over here, there's strong support there. So I would say with this here, I would say, just from my own experience, I would say it consolidates in this zone. There's a probability it could do something like that, but I would say for the most part, it's going to consolidate. This is going to hold up as support, though. This block right here will hold up as support. Um, I mean, there's so many different angles to look at this, and that's the reason why I love it. Is I really do love multiple different circumstances, and none of them are the right answer, but all of them are the right answer, depending on the way you're looking at it. This is something I like to do. Um, I guess that comes from a lot of gaming, being involved with the multiple different possibilities depending on what circumstance you're in and like whatever happens, good or bad. Um, and then you get the odds, and then you have to problem solve it and all that good shit. So, yeah, if I was to forecast, um, let's go back to Clover Health. Yeah, I use that, but let's go back here. If I was to forecast what's going to end up happening with the price, then I would say this structure right here is a positive structure. We need to hold that. This is the center line, right, of the positive structure, right? Anything below that is negative because there was a lot of selling going on here. So if we could maintain this and oscillate, right, to around June the 10th, which is marked here, there's that dot, right? So June the 10th, right? The high probability that we can see higher highs up until around this zone here, which either leads to making or breaking and then retesting by September or October, because this one is elongated and this one's short. You got to do the math between those two. But sometime, and if I was elongated there, I could say something like that. It'll be a slow decline. But no, that's just using the knowledge that I have and my experience. So yeah, I would set a not a price target, not necessarily a price, but I will set a directional move, right? A directional bias move, suggesting that from here, if we don't pop because of earnings, because that's like a whole different subject. We're just looking at the indicators and what's displayed in front of us. If I was to create a scenario, right, where these indicators, or you call them these um, gauges, suggest, whatever they have going on here. Hold on, we got that one on this one. Okay. So since I hold this one in high regards, that there, this is overbought. This is sloping down, even though the 2 week still wants to push up. There was a huge buying pressure in psychoanalysis. This is the peak within this trough here, within this line. That's the peak of the minor. This is the top. You got red here. You got a lot of sell signals. Options say $2.50 is the middle ground. Dark pool says that $2 is the buy zone. Bookmap, the order flow, says that $2.80 is a high liquidity for um, sell orders, right? For supply, and there's demand at a little bit above $2 at this point. So you take all that in reference, right? And then you come back over here and you take this as reference too. You got these stacks. That should be the middle ground. This should be the timing. This is the short term timing. This is the long term timing. And it has to move within a wave. Wave consists of there's a trough here, there's a trough here. So that's this. That would be equal to this. So, and it doesn't go up in a straight line, right? And you can see it here with this oversold. You can see it here with this oversold. You can see it here, right? And there. It's weakening, yet price is going higher. Trend is up. But like I said, with all that other stuff, from this one over here. So I would say that it's highly likely that we're going to find this area right here as support. If not, then definitely this one. I don't know about that one though. So if anything, we're going to come down. We're going to test this one. We're going to go back up for a little bit. And we're going to come down and either test this one or that one. And then after that, we're going to go off to the races. Now, that's just a rough sketch of what could happen. It could happen that way, or, like if it's really bullish, you could probably do the same thing, except this and then be higher, right? And be like that, something like that. But we'll see. And just to note that there are these arrows right here that happen in, pretty strong points. So this one happened here at the bottom. This one happened here as of now, right? And if we go back to the last one that showed up, or the last two that showed up, or whatever, three or some shit like that. Let's see here. There. The green one was here, right? So we go there. This is the green one, which is that's that one right there. That's that 60 cents area. Now you had one here. Oops. You had one. Had one here and here, which would have said here and there, given the fact that I call that a double top, but obviously it wasn't. Then you have this divergence here, which you can see it right there. And it's like the math makes sense. You just have to interpret it, pretty much. Yeah, so that's the way I see it working out. I see it working out as in this chart doesn't have it, but the regime is going to flip. It's going to go back down, and then it's going to go back up. The main one. I think by June the 10th, so that's incorrect. It should be like that. Delete that too. Make it more accurate to the actual June the 10th ish right here. So if we do that, and it's going to be the bottom area right there, or somewhere right there. And I'm currently right here. Right? So I'm going to tie that into this. So the regime should do something like that. Now, that's just future casting. We never really know what's going to happen until we see the indicators display it. You know, we got to roll over right here. Okay, this is rolling over. That's overbought. So you got to come to your own conclusions. It's pretty much like, you know, the truth is in the eye of the beholder, right? So you just got to be able to understand what you're doing. There's many different directions you can go, but I have my money, right? If I was to make a bet, right? Oops. If I was to make a bet, okay, and I have my money on it, I would say exactly like I said over here earlier. This is the way it's going to happen. It's going to be a small retracement here. This is going to be concluded. Then it might have a little pop up, maybe even hit where this zone is at right there. Then it's going to drop back down. It's in this area, right? That's around June the 12th, but we'll say this the 10th. And then after that, the next trial won't happen until September. So from that point up, it could be possible to see above $3.50. But that's just my guess, right? That's just what my analysis tells me. So we'll see what happens. Anyway, delete that over here. It's been around 6 minutes, going on 37 minutes. I really could get deeper in it. I really can show you how I create indicators and all that good stuff. But nah, it's just too much work. It's really tedious shit. You got to go back and forth with this shit. You got to correct the mistakes. It'll suck your whole day away before you know it. Like, I think, was it this indicator right here? It took 2 days to create. Right? Well, technically, it's two different indicators. But yeah, and this one also took like a week. So it's really tedious, man. It's not fun. You're not gonna like it, and you will enjoy what happens after you get it right. But anyways, yeah, I'm gonna have to end this video. Bye bye, and I will see you next time.